Hello and welcome to the Purple Portal with your host, the somewhat reluctant mystic, Elaine Bartlett. Last week we were speaking about the different energies that were spewed out to raise our consciousness, and these energies were created by a lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse and a retrograde Mercury. Well, we're still in that cycle of retrograde Mercury. And for those of you who have not a clue what I'm talking about with a retrograde Mercury, it has to do with the planet Mercury itself. And it would appear that when it's retrograde, it's going backwards. But it's actually not. It's actually almost, if you will, a smoke and mirrors trick that happens in the heavens. However, in the position that it takes in the heavens, energy is deflected to Earth, as all of the planets do, which I can't quite understand where people ever come to the point of thinking that the planets have nothing to do with their life. They are energy, and they're massive, massive balls of energy, kind of like you and me. Hopefully we're not quite that big, but you get the point. So Mercury is the planet that we attribute, as astrologers, we attribute things like the conscious mind, your thinking, your ability to be focused and clear and present. So when it appears to go backward, and it's a 3-week deal, if you will, it's a 3-week situation, here's what happens. Your airline tickets stand to get mixed up. If you turn left, it should be you turned right. You want to really dot the I's, cross the T's, and be very alert and conscious in a time where this Mercury is moving in a slightly different modality. That being said, most people are terrified of a retrograde Mercury because they've been accustomed to the fact that things get a little scrambled and bamboozled. On the upside, a retrograde Mercury actually brings you into more of a consciousness of what needs to be adjusted from the old. So old personalities from within yourself could surface to be adjusted. You know, that Jekyll and Hyde that hides within inside of you. Well, pull up those characters and adjust them. You could also, though, come across someone from your past, which is always very interesting. You get a love letter finds you that was misplaced for 30 years. I started this radio show in a retrograde Mercury. Well, I'm very happy with my choice to start then, because in my own natural birth chart, I was born with a retrograde Mercury. So none of this is new. The gentleman that owns the station, I had to have known him somewhere, because it's a repeat of old business coming now to the next level of completion, the next level of expansion. So look between now and the 22nd to see who's coming into your life. What the heck are they doing in there? I've come into your life during this portion. And who the heck am I? Obviously, I'm an old connection. I'm an old information bringer for you. A bringer of news, a bringer of light, a bringer of contemplation, a bringer of thought, and hopefully a bringer of thought provocation. I'd like to poke around that brain of yours sometimes and get you up and running. So my background in all of this, what gives me the ability to come here, at least in my mind, is the fact that I've been a student, teacher, and teacher-student, a light seeker, a light giver, a love seeker, a love giver, since the early 1970s. Some of you weren't even born then. And the journey was an interesting one because I was very reluctant to go on the journey. At the time, I was very devout in the religion that I was born unto. And the religion actually excommunicated, that was the word, excommunicated you if you were an astrologer. Well, once I faced that fear and did a little more research, it didn't take much digging to get to understand that, well, isn't this interesting? The 3 wise men just so happen to have been world-class, top-of-the-line astrologers. So I have come along a line of, let me get more information, let me get it, let me give it. And in the process, have learned and embodied many tools that would make it appear sometimes that I'm a darn good rainmaker, miracle maker, when in truth, none of it's a miracle. It's how it actually should be. And it's just based on the fact that, for the most part, we no longer can identify the laws of the universe, how they operate, how they live and breathe, and have room in your life and mine. So much has happened in my world that allows me to bring information to you, and I am delighted to do so. One of the things that I had begun to talk about last time, because we're in this Pluto also, Pluto is another planet that's going direct at the end of this month. And Pluto is going to bring some upheaval. And upheaval could be as simple as every belief system that you ever thought about no longer works for you. Your entire wardrobe doesn't work for you. You pick yourself up and move to another state, another town, another country. This is all upheaval. I suspect it will be both personal and global. What you want to do in the midst of upheaval, it's kind of like a hurricane. You become the eye of the storm. The eye of the storm is silent. It is powerful. It doesn't have an opinion. It stays out of criticism, and it has no judgment. Judgment's such an interesting thing. Most of us are very sort of finicky with, not me, I'm not judgmental. I suspect you could take another look because it's so subtle and it's so insidious. We hold judgment about almost anything and everything and anyone and everyone. And I'll tell you recently where judgment came into my consciousness, and I had to do a big course correction, which is exactly what the eclipses help you do. You make a course correction. I realized I was holding judgment about our government, about political players in the government, and I was holding judgment against big banking industry. And as I looked at that, naturally, and really looked deeply, I looked very deeply. I don't just give something a cursory look and then dismiss it and go on. No, I contemplate, I look, I mull, I think about it, I meditate, I cogitate, I'll take a walk along the ocean, and it could go on for days. And all of a sudden, then information starts flooding in because my guides and teachers will try to assist me because they understand the sincerity of heart that I want to make a course correction. So they're going to help. So what they did was they actually allowed me to see and understand the role and the importance of the role that all these kinds of players have in life and have had. And once you understand that that was their job, that's their role, there's really no more judgment because that was their sole contract. And indeed, they had been well hated. You know, you look at both of our choices for presidency, you can look at either side. They're both equally hated. And that's a lot of hatred for a soul to try to understand and accept, because they're feeling it. They don't know who to trust. They don't know who's sincere. I don't think any normal person would want to be, any thinking person, any conscious person would want to be in their shoes, which is why the choices are as they are. Because consciousness means you're aware of the oneness. You're aware of the fact that I can't hurt you. You're one with me. Hurt you, that's the least of it. I can't kill you. I can't rape you. I can't steal from you because you are the other me. That's the consciousness that we're all wanting. We're wanting that kind of leadership, but you can't get what you are not. And only when there is a majority will you have the leadership that you're believing that you want. Only then can people of depth and actually spirituality, consciousness is spirituality. It's the true spirituality. They've woken up. They know who they are. They know why they can't hurt you. They know that if they hurt you, they've just hurt themselves. And unfortunately, they know that, well, maybe if I hurt you, I'll get away with, I won't get hurt because somebody's got my back and I'm protected. Yeah, and then their most favorite beloved child comes down with an incurable disease. That's how it works. And so nobody's getting away with anything. You're not getting away with anything. I'm not getting away with anything. We only have come here to put the effort in to remember. The remembering of who you are. But to do that, I think we've got to look at some of the wounds that you and I are carrying. They're actually in our DNA. They are encoded in our DNA. They're actually called the 6 core wounds of humanity. And this material, it resonates to a whole magnificent body of work that was brought forth onto the planet to help us at this time by a gentleman who's in England whose name is Richard Rudd, R-U-D-D. And Richard was gifted to be able to bring forth something, a body of work, which is called the Gene Keys. And as the weeks go on, I'm going to talk much more in depth about these Gene Keys because as gene being G-E-N-E, your genes. And the contention of this material is we have the power to change our genes, and it's so revolutionary, and yet at the same breath, it is absolutely ancient, and it's what all of the great teachers and healers upon the earth absolutely knew and stood in. Yeshua knew it. Some of you insist on calling him Jesus, which is a slur of his word. He's Yeshua. The Buddha knew it. Krishna knew it. The great ancient teachers of all time knew it. And they operated it, and that's what their miracles were. They were operating from a higher frequency that allowed them to stand truthfully with a corrected gene pattern. So the 6 core wounds are repression, denial, shame, rejection, guilt, and separation. For the most part today, I just wanted you to hear the names of these core wounds because I'm going to tie them in with something in Western astrology, which is happening now, and it's becoming intense, more intense, more intense, more intense, like this drumbeat from some tribal group that's becoming almost unbearable. And it's coming through the energy of a system known as Chiron. That's Chiron. And in astrology, it's actually known as the wounded warrior. And warrior, well, some of you might be thinking, well, I'm not a Pisces, I can nod off. Well, that's how little you know about astrology, because you're no sign in the zodiac. You're all 12 signs and then some. You are the signs, you are embodiment of a universe. So it just may be that you weren't born under the sign of Pisces, but someone like myself would look at your chart and go, whoa, well, it's over here. And it can be addressed and adjusted in such and such a manner. So the wounded warrior in Pisces is actually responsible for sorrow, grief, and sadness. And this sorrow, grief, and sadness is coming through these 6 core wounds. What have you repressed? What have you denied? What shame are you holding? Where's the rejection? Who rejected you? How have you rejected you? Guilt. Guilt. I'll probably do 100 programs on guilt. Guilt gets me crazy. Guilt is man-made. Actually, probably all these wounds are man-made to a degree. But guilt is man-made, and religion reinforced. And then there's separation. So these core wounds are coming up now, and they're actually causing a lot of havoc. They're making people sick because people are tired, and therefore the phrase sick and tired. I'm not sure which come first, the chicken or the egg. I think they're tired and sick. Doesn't make much difference. One is as bad as the other. So as these core wounds surface through this wounded warrior energy in Pisces, you may actually find, for some reason, you're on a crying jag. You just wake up and you're sobbing. Or you can't wait to watch the next Hallmark movie because it gives you a reason to get the Kleenex box out. Or there is a sense of loss. Someone dies, someone leaves, prematurely, whatever that means, because there is no such thing as a premature death. Hate to tell you. Every death is right on target, exactly honoring the contract that the person signed on for in this lifetime. You're not going to live to be 120 in every lifetime, nor would you want to. Sometimes you have a contract to leave the minute you're born, because the parents and you had growth that could only be accomplished that way. Sometimes you leave in the middle of a relationship that you don't think has come to fruition. It came to fruition. It gave you what it needed to give you. My husband died when I was in my 20s. That's an early out. And it gave me what I needed. And in an odd way, it gave my son things that he needed, although it took a long time for that to become evident. It gave him an inner strength, an inner understanding, a compassion that beats all compassions that I've ever seen. So things that seem so terrible, these griefs, these losses, these wounds, no, they're only here to elevate you in the long run. If you get stuck in a pity party connected with them, you're on your own, because I have not an ounce of sympathy or empathy for a pity party. We don't have time for that now. If you haven't looked, time is of the essence. You know not when your last breath is. even though you're God in drag. You actually don't know that. And why do I say you're God in drag? Because I have elevated you. Because I know the core of me. I know the light of me and the love of me. And darn it, that's the love and light of you. Which circles back to the sorrow of the choices in almost every political office. The choices cannot have been healthy because we are not healthy. So it behooves us to get healthy. And as this wounded warrior in Pisces goes and does its work, the goal here is not only to help you grow in love, but through love to gain understanding. Understanding is critical to having compassion. And if these things don't make any sense to you, oh, she's off her rocker, she's talking love and understanding and compassion, I appreciate that. I honor where you're at. I am just so thankful I'm not there any longer. Because that world you're in is bleak, it's dark, and it's kind of a dead-end road. So using the other tools of looking at your wounds and embracing them, that's the thing. You know, some of the people that I deal with, they tell me, well, I've been to a therapist for 30 years and I'm not much better off. Well, they didn't need to tell me that because I can see they're not much better off. Because some of the therapists are telling you, run from the wound. It's just the opposite. Or put it down. I'm going to tell you, hug it until it's part of you. And it's that part of the tapestry of you that maybe it's the shadow side. But a tapestry without shadow isn't very interesting. Your shadow side is beautiful. The more you love it, the more it loses its shadow. And it becomes illuminated. Some of the true illuminated beings that walk the planet, they cast no shadow when they walk. And that's the truth. And that is so interesting to me. I don't know these guys. Where are they? I want them to teach me what it takes to cast no shadow wherever I walk. I want them to teach me that wherever I walk, there's a seed of love that's sown. Wherever I walk, a rainbow is behind me. Wherever I walk, someone's left with a smile, or even perhaps scratching their head, but hopefully a lighter heart. Because I don't know about you folks, but it's very challenging to keep that heart light these days. For the last 2 years, I read and delved very deeply into some of the horrors of what mankind is doing to each other. I really never wanted to know. I wanted to learn. I wanted to help a person. But apparently my helpers, thought, you better know. You better know, you better learn, so that you can help embrace it. And embracing helps dissolve it. Don't run from it. Don't hate it. Because what you hate grows. What you love grows too. Pick. Why pick one? I don't want more disaster on this earth. There's enough. We've harmed enough people. We've done enough damage. I think it's time now to choose the other way. I might be all alone in that. I might be crazy. It's okay with me. A majority of one, doesn't bother me at all. So that's the wounded warrior that's cooking. There's a lot in Pisces. Oh, here's the other final lovely thing that this wounded warrior is bringing up. It's bringing up your secrets. It's bringing up everybody's secrets And this has been cooking really since about 2012, which is why nobody can get away with anything. So I have to laugh. If you're having an affair and you think it's going to be secret, it's going to be now evident. If you're doing a little bit of embezzling, which is really a joke, it's kind of like a little bit of being pregnant, it's going to be coming into the light. A couple of years ago, a couple that I knew at the time sent their young son to me because the son was very edgy and losing weight and miserable. And it took me a few sessions with this son to really dig down to understand why he was so miserable. Well, he was so miserable because little bit by little bit, he was stealing money from his company. Now, they hadn't found out. Nobody knew. But I knew. And I'm looking at this kid, he's probably in his young 40s at the time, 3 young babies, a beautiful family, and he's getting sicker, sickest. And the only thing that could happen here was to get sickest, and sickest takes you out. So I finally plucked up the courage and said to him, listen, if you want to heal, go and simply tell the company what you had done. Now, oddly, I'm thinking, oh my God, he must have stolen millions because he was getting so sick. My brain just went, this must really be awful. Well, finally, he said it was something like $20,000. Well, I don't have $20,000, and it's nothing to, sneeze at. It's a bit of money, especially when you don't have it, but it's not the end of the world. That's the kind of money that you could take a loan, you could refinance your house, you could do something creative, you could go to your folks, and if they're in the position, they could give you a loan, you could do something, and you buck up and you go in and you give the money back and get on with getting well. Well, that's the kind of secret that's going to come up. Interestingly, he was too afraid. He could not hear me. And thankfully, I don't know the outcome. But in my heart and soul, I can tell you, I don't think it's going to be a good outcome because secrets are coming up. I'd rather you spit it out now so it can be corrected. No one's going to hold it. What boss in their right mind is going to say, you're out of here if, and I think he was a good worker, they're going to say thank you. And the bond would be stronger and better than ever. Can you imagine if we all came clean? Well, by golly, we would have 2 clean people running for the highest office in the land. What a concept. I understand and I have compassion why he would be afraid. I get that. And I have no judgment. I actually love him more because he's afraid. And sometimes when I think of him, I try to work and love his fear so that eventually he can make that inner soul correction. And these are soul corrections that every one of us have to make. So secrets are a-coming up. And I'm telling you, and I've been telling people now, probably since the first of our year, but especially the Chinese New Year, which I actually resonate more to because it's got more energy to it than the fabricated New Year of the calendar that the world uses. That's not a particularly healthy calendar, and I'll explain that in one of these talks, but I don't want to go into that right now, but it's not a healthy calendar. The Chinese calendar, which actually attempts to honor Mother Earth, is much more valid. So since that time, I've really been alerting people to wake up as best you can and embrace your secrets because they're coming on up. And just clean up your act. Because again, you know not when the end is. And the line is being drawn. It's already been drawn since 2012 as to those working on the negative aspect of energy versus those working on the positive. And those working on the positive, your light is glowing. You are a brilliant color. Even if you feel, I don't have it right, I don't have it perfect, I'm not perfect, it's okay. Your intention is known. Your energy is felt and seen. And those working on the negative, that's known as well. And that's all fine. I honor your journey wherever you are. Here's the downside, though, on the negative, and you just might as well know it, so I'll share it with you. The downside is, by any chance, should we destroy this planet, which, trust me, the extraterrestrials are working overtime to try to not have that come to pass. You know, it's a beautiful planet. It's holding a wonderful frequency in this solar system. So unless we're particularly stupid and self-absorbed and self-centered and destroy ourselves as we did in Atlantis, we will go forward. But if we are that stupid and know not the end day, here's the deal for those working on the negative side, which is why it's perfectly okay. You will repeat this 32,000-year wheel of experience yet again. And talk about Groundhog Day. Wahoo! I mean, I get exhausted thinking about it. So it's up to you. I mean, some people are having a great time mucking around in the mud and in the war fields and in the foxholes and in the boardrooms where there's nothing but lies and deception and cheating. And that's a game to them, and it's the game they choose to play. And because this is a free will planet, that's why there's no judgment against it. It's not my cup of tea, but if it's your cup of tea, it's your cup of tea. You know, it's kind of like I might look at somebody with body piercing completely over their whole body. It's a beautiful art form. And I honor that choice. I have no problem with it. Not my cup of tea. It's the same with you want to smoke 10 packs of cigarettes. It's perfectly okay. And I will not try to convince you to change not even one tiny little cigarette. Because I honor your free will. Just not my cup of tea. And that's where we're all getting to that are doing the work of recognizing you get to do you, I get to do me. Don't harm me, I won't harm you. It's kind of like that. So that's a little bit of information about these wounds and secrets that are coming up. Days to be alert to. I think this show will be aired right around, it'll be slightly after, around the 10th, which is this weekend coming up. There will be an exposure of some sort of secrets. Also at the end of the month, more secrets, more secrets. Just don't go into denial, please. We've done it with denial. We've done it with putting the other person down. Give everybody their space for expression, except that they may have a message that you should hear. You know, here's another denial thing. People do not want to hear about vaccines and the danger. Okay, I honor that. When your children can't get pregnant because of Gardasil, I honor that. I wish you could have heard your denial. When your child, who was perfectly healthy, when you took them in for the MMR vaccination, and within 3 to 7 days, their life, your life, and the nucleus of your family is destroyed, well, I honor that. I wish you'd take your head out of the sand, find out about vaccinations so you are intelligent. There's no way that you should never have a vaccination. I'm not saying that. I'm saying get information that empowers you so that you can go and tell the doctor, I want one at a time. One this month, one several months down the road, one several months after that. You're the person. The doctor's here with a vow to do no harm. So should he not honor your wish under that premise, do no harm? So there's a whole lot of secrets coming out about the medical profession, the money profession, the banking profession, military profession, all these secrets, everybody's secret on the line. Look out. Years ago, someone said, live as if your life was exposed onto the front page of the paper and your mother picked up the newspaper, you'd be okay. Well, there's a few things now I have to say about that. That is, if you liked your mother and give a hoot about what she thought, if your mother was the kind of mother that would give a hoot about you, that's one prerequisite. And if it was in a newspaper that actually told the truth anymore. So at this point, you'd have to put out your own newsletter, because I don't know of a newspaper like that. Moving right along into the last several minutes of the show. Again, what I just said was food for thought. It's food to have you look, have you read, have you learn, get information. Why would you not? You don't need to see the next latest, greatest reality show. First of all, they're vulgar, they're horrifying. Yeah, I use the word vulgar. That seems to have been taken out of our vocabulary. Much of what you see and experience is sickeningly vulgar. It's against the spirit. Makes you nauseous unless you have become so callous, so conditioned that you don't even notice it, and worse, you don't feel it. This is where the part of me, that Pisces part of me that knows the wound, sobs. I sob for you because you have fallen out of sensing, feeling, and honoring your feelings. And that's just precisely what the dark forces wanted you to do. They wanted you to become so low, so bestial, so vile, so vulgar in your thinking that you'd be easy to manipulate, easy to buy. Well, the truth of you, your spirit is not for sale. Not today, not yesterday, and not tomorrow. And that's all one energy field. So if you were bought and sold yesterday, let it go. Today, you're new. This business of born again, yeah, I believe in it all right. This second you're born again, and only this second, and only the next second. Grab onto that. Grab onto that and swing to the next branch, because that's my segue into Chinese astrology. Swing to the next branch because we're in the year of the monkey. This is the year your destiny is to swing from branch to branch with solid grasp. Hold on tight. Let go of the energy behind you. Don't look back over your shoulder. That's how you turn to salt. Don't ever look backward. Yesterday was a myth. It's an illusion. Looking back into yesterday, oh, here's one. It has a little vulgarness to it, but it'll make you take notice. Yesterday to me looks like this. You're still eating meat. We went to a restaurant. You put a lovely hunk of steak in your mouth, and halfway through chewing it, you realize, this thing is very filled with gristle. And you take it out and you put it on the side of your plate. Well, when you look back, it's kind of like taking that piece of gristle off your plate and putting it back in your mouth. That's what yesterday looks like energetically. It's that sickening. It's that gross. So for God's sake, get over yesterday. be here now. The great essence of light, love, love, light, that great core essence, that divine intelligence, isn't in yesterday. So when you go there, whether you're grieving, whether you're bemoaning, whether you're wistful thinking, there's no life force there. And you are aborting the life you have in this instant. And that's a crime. Because you and I only have this instant, and don't kid yourself. So in this year of the monkey, what's to happen? Expect the unexpected. That's like the core buzzword of the whole cycle. And it's a wonderful, wonderful year for out of the clear blue. I'm at this radio station out of the clear blue. And the next show, I will talk about the Chinese New Year and actually what it brought forth much, much more fully. But I want to touch on something that's actually happening now so that you can use the now energy. And that's the season of autumn. In Chinese astrology, every season has 3 months. And because their calendar is geared and connected and hooked into Mother Earth, Gaia, the great Gaia, the time zones are different. So autumn actually energetically began August 6th this year. And August 6th through September 6th, today, is the monkey month. So we got the monkey year in the monkey month, okay, or vice versa, the monkey month in the monkey year. And what it did, it gave people a lot of overthink. So if you couldn't sleep well during this past month, anyone out there in Radio Land, it's because there was simply too much metal. It was monkey playing havoc with your mind. Metal is the mind. You'd be in overthink. So many people actually could not think, and they couldn't think straight or clearly, and they were in overthink, kept up in the middle of the night on purpose by sacred design because they're being rewired, restructured for a whole new world that's supposed to be unfolding these next several weeks and months. So we need people to be rewired. So have a good time if you're not sleeping. I think it's the greatest thing. It's the greatest news you could possibly tell me. Today actually starts the rooster month, the month of the rooster, and it's what we call yin metal or soft metal. So it won't be quite as bad in your overthink or lack of sleep. It should be a little softer. And then the third month, October 7th to November 6th, it's called the month of the dog, and it's a transition month. It would not surprise me if several people lose their life in the month of October, one way or another. Either there's misdiagnoses through the Western medicine, or there's people just choosing to leave. And I don't mean by suicide. It's just their contract is up. They get it. They go. Or through the efforts of war, chaos, and upheaval. So it would not surprise me if a whole lot of upheaval is coming because we're in upheaval. If you don't want upheaval, get out of it. Get out of your own chaos. What's happening too in a metal cycle, because it's the autumn cycle, is your lungs are compromised. Your respiratory system, the whole respiratory system, is compromised during these 3 months. Therefore, people suffer respiratory illnesses, lung diseases. And again, I have to tell you, if you, honest to goodness, if you are anywhere near Melbourne and you have lung issues, sinuses stuffed up, any of that, you must go see my magical one and only Jeannie McGuire, who is an acupuncturist. I'm even going to give Jeannie's phone number. That's the work she's done for me. She's helped absolutely shift my entire energy field. Her business is called Ageless Natural Medicine. Jeannie McGuire, MAGUIRE, 321-757-4047. Once again, Jeannie, 321-757-4047. Any lung diseases. And also, if you can't sleep, for corn's sake, call her, because that overthink can be absolutely exhausting. When you're not sleeping, it's hard to heal. The other area that is up for grabs during this cycle is thyroid. Be careful of misdiagnosis to the thyroid. Acupuncture can heal your thyroid, so think about that, rather than any radiation and chemotherapy, should that be a diagnosis for you. The other problem that comes up in a metal cycle is grief and sadness. It comes up, it just boils up. So you can see there's almost layer upon layer. We've got this wounded warrior business in Pisces where there's grief and sorrow, and then we're in this metal cycle of grief and sadness. Well, the interesting thing about grief and sadness, it's there for a reason. It's there to be transformed. And it's there to be transformed to compassion. And of course, we're never told this. We're never told the value of it. The value is invaluable. Because as you expand your consciousness into compassion, you're actually living and moving in what is called a fifth dimensional frequency. So those of you New Agers who are busy trying to get out of your body and think the world's ending, it's not ending as you know it. It's ending in a way of shifting awareness to, well, what does it take? What does it take to graduate from third dimensional consciousness, which is planet Earth? It takes a heart full of love. And you better get that heart chakra open. Front chakra as well as the back heart chakra. Who knew there would be a front and back chakra? The front chakra is all about giving. And many people are very good. As a matter of fact, some people seem more comfortable with giving. And the back chakra is completely shut down. The back heart chakra is about receiving. If you're a good giver and not a good receiver, give up giving for a while, because receiving requires a great deal of humility. You have to go low to be a good receiver. I mean bowing low and in graciousness and humility. That's why we're all better givers. We don't want to have to be a receiver. I don't feel comfortable getting a handout. Who does? No one does. I feel great giving a handout. Well, that's nice and everything, but there's an imbalance. So learn to have the balance between the giving and the receiving. That's the third dimension. The fourth dimension has to do with opening your understanding. And by understanding, that has a lot to do with allowing everybody in free will their journey, staying out of judgment. I understand why you must smoke 3 packs of cigarettes. I understand. I understand why your life is like this. There's no judgment. There's only acceptance. And the sixth dimension has to do with compassion. So actually, that's the fifth dimension, excuse me. So there's all of this growth ahead of you. And there's a whole lot ahead of all of us if we embrace our secrets, we embrace our guilt, we embrace our shame, we embrace all the wounds, and you open your heart and you expand your consciousness. Get out of your old limited thinking. If your neck is stiff, you're too stiff-necked. Get over it. Be flexible. Be loving. Be generous of spirit. Be ready to listen to me on the Purple Portal again next time when we're together. And in the meantime, I'm loving you wholly, completely, and I embrace you.